November 5th,
Recording in progress.
2024 Planning Commission hearing. I will call the hearing to order at 1:03 PM. Could we have a roll call vote?
Thank you, Chair Bauke. We'll take roll call. Chair Bauke,
Here.
Vice Chair Wardlow,
Here.
Commissioner Barnwell,
Here.
Commissioner Boss,
Present.
Commissioner DeLuccio,
Here.
Commissioner Lodge,
Here.
and Commissioner Wiscombe.
Here.
Perfect. We have quorum. Thank you.
Okay, moving on to preliminary matters. First, we have requests for continuances, withdrawals, postponements, and additions of exigent items.
Yes, Chair Bauke, just want to introduce myself, Ellen Kokinda. I'm actually the design review supervisor, but I'm sitting in for Ms. Arciniega today. There is one project withdrawal, 313 Vista de la Cumbra, which was on appeal today. It was listed as the second item on today's hearing. It will not be heard. The applicant has withdrawn the project. So no other news beyond that. So please note, if anyone is interested in listening in, we'll not be hearing that.
Okay, do we have any announcements and appeals?
Yes, please. So first, I just want to introduce our newest member to the Planning Division and Community Development Department. We have Jasper Carmen here. She's going to be shadowing Ms. Esparza to be taking over the Planning Commission as the Planning Commission Secretary. So please welcome Ms. Carmen. And then secondly, I want to just note as a reminder, we have 1269 Farello Road. This is going to be the Single Family Design Board final approval. It's an appeal of that decision. It's actually the second final approval appeal. You heard one back in June, and it did receive approval again from the SFDB, and it'll be coming back on the 19th to Planning Commission for review and decision. I just want to remind you that since the commission has already been out for a site visit, there will be no site visit on the 17th. So just to have a note of that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next is review, consideration, and actions of our commission minutes and resolutions. We have the minutes of November 7th before us. Anybody have any corrections to the minutes? I see none. Anybody would like to make a motion to adopt?
I'll move the minutes.
Okay, Commissioner DeLuccio makes a motion.
I'll second it.
And we have a second by Commissioner Wiscombe. Could I have a roll call vote?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I did have a correction. I'm
Okay.
sorry.
Sorry about that.
Mariah, do you have that in front of you? I added, did you get my email about a correction to the minutes?
When did you send it, Commissioner Lodge?
I'm sorry?
I did not receive anything about minutes, no. Did you send
dear.
it today?
It's the minutes that are before us right now, and the
We didn't
ones-
receive anything.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. So I'd like to add the word, the first bullet, the last line where it says regarding parking, add the word over parking.
And my apologies, Commissioner Lodge, at what point on the minutes? The last point?
You'll have to excuse me. Oh, it's page 5 of 7.
Second bullet.
The second, yeah, under Commissioner Lodge, the last line of the first bullet.
Okay. Got it. Thank you.
Okay, you got that? Thank you. So I would like to make that change.
Okay, would we-
I'll accept that change as part of the motion.
I'll second that.
Okay, now we can have a roll call with the amendment.
Thank you. Commissioner Boss?
Yes.
Commissioner DeLuccio?
Yes.
Commissioner Lodge?
Yes.
Commissioner Barnwell?
Yes.
Commissioner Wiscombe?
Yes.
Vice Chair Wardlow?
Yes.
And Chair Bauke?
Yes.
Motion passes. Thank you.
Okay, moving on, we're going to have public comments pertaining to items not on the agenda. Do we have any persons in the chambers or online who would like to make comments?
Thank you, Chair Balke. We currently do not have any virtual participants, so I'll just state for the record that we did receive written correspondence, 2 submissions from Stephen Johnson, which was submitted to the commission prior to the meeting. So I'll turn it back to you.
Okay, now we're going to move on to new items. Our next topic is 2503 Medcliff Road. It's a request for a coastal development permit to allow the proposed development in the appeal zone of the city's coastal zone and to confirm the environmentalist determination that this project is exempt from CEQA under guidelines section 15301 existing facilities. We have before us today Associate Planner Pillar Plummer to give us a staff presentation. You can start at any time.
Thank you, Chair Balke. So yes, I'm Pilar Plummer, Associate Planner with the City of Santa Barbara Planning and Zoning Division. I'll give the staff presentation for this project. So the project involves a remodel to an existing 1,848 square foot, 1-story single unit residence. You'll see a photo of the existing residence on the right, viewed from the backyard. The site is also developed with a attached 515 square foot garage. And the overall project involves a 1,507 square foot, 1-story addition to the existing residence, as well as some tree removals and removal of some as-built features at the rear of the property towards the bluff, including some as-built decking area and some as-built fencing. In terms of tree removals, there's a Brazilian pepper tree that's towards the northern portion of the property that is up against the building, and then some non-native eucalyptus trees that are proposed for removal as well. That are hanging off the bluff. And these trees are proposed to be replaced with some western redbud trees. And then in the area of the eucalyptus, that will be planted with native landscaping. So the purpose of the hearing this afternoon is a coastal development permit to allow for the proposed development in the appealable jurisdiction of the coastal zone. This is an aerial view of the project site. You'll see it outlined in yellow here. As I noted, it's a bluff-top property. This is Medcliff Road here. There's a drive access to the property. This is Mesa Lane, Edgewater Way. So it just gives you some context for the overall area. In terms of zoning consistency, the project is consistent with the zoning ordinance. It does meet the required setbacks, including for the proposed addition to the residence. It's well below the allowed building height for the zone. On-site parking is being maintained. There's no changes to the garage other than some facade changes that are happening to the overall building. And open yard is also maintained for the project. In terms of the FAR, I do want to note FAR for this site is a guideline. So this is just a calculation to show the existing versus proposed. But the existing parcel exceeds 15,000 square feet. So that automatically does make it a guideline FAR for the property, as noted on the screen. An FAR as well, in terms of a maximum requirement, only would also apply to lots less than 15,000 or with a building that's 2 stories or more than 17 feet in height. So this existing building is 50% of the guideline FAR for the property. The maximum of 100 is 4,795. The existing floor area, this includes the residence and garage, is 2,363, and the proposed is 3,870, so it's 81% of the maximum guideline FAR. In terms of design review, the project went before the Single Family Design Board on 2 occasions, once in June of 2024, where the board was generally supportive of the project. At that hearing, they did ask for some additional information, really to understand context of the neighborhood, so they asked for a site section, as well as some more information to understand height and privacy within context of the other properties within the neighborhood. And then on August 7th, 2024, the board reviewed it again, and overall determined that the materials and language of the building that are being proposed are compatible with the neighborhood, Additionally, they express support for the tree removals and tree replacements that are proposed. And to the right is just a rendering of the project. So you'll see in the floor plan, this is the existing garage. There's some facade changes that are happening to the building, but the main thing is this wing is being added to the residence, and it creates sort of an internal courtyard, which you'll see clearer on the floor plan. So here's the garage, extent of the existing residence, and this portion here is being added really to accommodate a primary bedroom, primary closet and bath, as well as a study area. This is, if you remember for the site visit, we walked along here, the pepper tree is really in this general location, and then this creates a courtyard area for the residents there. The project obviously is in the coastal zone, so it requires consistency with the Coastal Act and the city's local coastal program, which implements the Coastal Act. The project is in the Mesa component of the land use plan, so that's shown in the figure here. This area is relatively level, but does contain coastal bluffs with an elevation of approximately 150 feet. It is predominantly made up of single-family residences. All the yellow areas represent the maximum 5 dwelling unit per acre areas in terms of land use for the zone, or for the component area. Green represents some park areas. In terms of coastal consistency with visual resources, this is a figure from the land use plan. This generally shows the area of the project site. So the project was reviewed by staff for consistency with visual policies, and based on feedback from the Single Family Design Board, the project is compatible with the neighborhood and is similarly consistent with the Coastal Act in that it's in a developed residential area with adequate public services, and will maintain a one-story character on site, which is consistent with the building typology for the neighborhood, which varies between 1 and 2 stories, as well as being below the allowed building height for the zone. And while being a bluff-top property, it is outside of a cone of view per the scenic resources diagram. In terms of trees and landscaping, so as discussed, the project will remove some non-native eucalyptus trees. You'll see this in your packet, but these are the eucalyptus trees that are leaning towards the bluff, so they're topped very poor, and some have a severe lean on the bluff, which pose potential risks to life and property, particularly over the beach, as they are stressed or structurally weak. The project will also remove a Brazilian pepper tree against the residence, which has the potential to pose structural issues to the building. And the project will preserve 2 existing oak trees and a non-native cedar tree, and will provide replacement western bud trees to be consistent with the land use plan. The project proposes to grind the eucalyptus trees down to the stumps, and those will remain in those areas, and then will be replanted with lemonade berry or a similar native vegetation. This is some other views. This is the Brazilian pepper tree here up against the existing house. You can see it's pressed up pretty tightly. This is a view towards the eucalyptus. This is one of the deck areas that is proposed to be removed. As well, and you'll know this in the staff report, the project is subject to potential shoreline hazard screening areas. So shoreline screening area 3 for coastal bluff faces and area 4 for coastal bluff tops, which are subject to potential shoreline hazards, particularly bluff erosion and bluff slope failure. So for this project, a soils engineering report was prepared to address the geologic conditions of the site. This included a slope stability analysis of the bluff. Additionally, a shoreline hazard evaluation was prepared to assess the effects of the hazard over the development of the project, factoring in the effects of sea level rise. And overall, the reports concluded that the development is consistent with coastal policies because the residential development is inland of the coastal bluff edge development buffer. So you'll see this is the bluff edge line here. These are the eucalyptus trees which are proposed for removal. Some have, as you would have noted at the site visit, some have already fallen from the past winter. And this is the coastal bluff edge buffer here. This is the residence, and this is the area of the proposed addition. So the work seaward of the bluff edge development buffer is consistent as well with coastal policies and the Coastal Act because it removes unpermitted structures such as the deck and fencing, as well as unstable trees to be replaced with landscaping. And the evaluation further confirmed that the work within the buffer would not create or contribute to erosion, geologic instability, or destruction of the site or surrounding area. In terms of CEQA, the project was found by staff to be qualifying for an exemption under 15301, which is existing facilities, which allows for additions to existing structures, and demolition and removal of small individual structures. It's just another view of the residence, looking from the back, really sort of standing towards the deck that's being removed. And staff is recommending that the Planning Commission move to approve the coastal development permit subject to the findings and conditions in the staff report, as well as to confirm the determination for CEQA. That concludes my presentation, and the owner applicant is here as well for his presentation.
Thank you, Ms. Plummer.
Yeah.
Next, we'll have the applicant. If he wants to make a presentation, make a presentation. You will have 15 minutes. Please state your name for the record and begin.
Hello, my name is Ken Unger. I am the owner of the property, my wife and I. I also, full disclosure, happen to be an architect. So the design and drawings are done by me. And this is a house that we've owned for approximately 13 years. And our intention is to develop it for our own personal use, hoping to retire here. The idea, the concept of the overall design, oh, you're looking at my sheet now. The basic concept of the overall design was we wanted to obviously keep it low in scale, and we wanted to make sure that we felt that this design and the massing are in keeping with the neighborhood from a perspective of scale and design, and we wanted to keep it really from making it as minimal impact as possible. We didn't want to go up for fear of potentially blocking anybody's view. We felt that we wanted to keep it in scale with our two neighbors on either side of us, both of which are one story. And we wanted to preserve the overall feeling of a quote-unquote courtyard-style house in Santa Barbara. You can see here, the existing house is kind of an L. I explained this to the commissioners that were at my house on Tuesday, and all we're really doing is we're adding a wing to what would be is that the east? That's really, yeah, the east side. No, the west side, sorry. The west side, that would basically take the L and make it more of like a U, creating an internal courtyard that you can see in this design is right in this area here. So we're taking the front facade, we're integrating Santa Barbara natural stone on the facade. Let me show you that. This is all Santa Barbara stone. We're keeping the same garage location and kind of accentuating it with more local kind of context with the stone. The stone on the front of the wing that we're adding on continues and provides kind of an opening into the courtyard, into the internal passageway to the house. As far as neighboring context, or let me talk a little bit about one of the questions one of the commissioners asked about on Tuesday was roof water. So all the roof water is going to be routed to rain barrels or cisterns on the perimeter of the house. You can see them located, for instance, here on the sides. And then that roof water will then be used for irrigation on the property. We are doing no new development On the south side of the property, as discussed by Pilar, we are removing the existing structures that are there, that were there since we have purchased the house. We did not build those. But the existing ice plants that's there are going to be removed for native vegetation, lemonberry or equal, and there's going to be no irrigation south of the house. So basically, we're doing our part, we believe, to keep the consistency of the bluff edge in its natural state. Would you like to see pictures of neighboring properties, or is that really not necessary? Basically, just to sum up, we're trying to maintain a design that's consistent with the neighborhood and the city of Santa Barbara from a scale and design perspective.
Okay, thank you. You have 11 minutes left, so if we need to come back and make a bigger pitch, which I don't think you will need to, but you have that time. So we're going to open it up for public comments on the project. Do we have any commentors?
Thank you, Chair Bauke. Turning to the audience, if there's anyone in person who'd like to speak on the item, please provide a speaker slip and come up to the podium. Not seeing any movement, and we currently do not have any virtual participants, and we did not receive written correspondence for the item, so with that, I'll turn it back to you. Thank you.
Okay, so with that, I'll close the public comment period, and we'll go to questions by my fellow commissioners. Who would like to go first? Push a button. There you go. Commissioner Wiscombe will go first.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just have one question. We talked about it on site a little bit, but could you show the plan that you're using as your landscape plan?
Yes. Since our meeting on Tuesday, the landscape is shown on this site plan, but I wanted to clarify it, so I did an additional sketch. Am I allowed to present that? To show the actual landscaping. Give me 1 second here. I'll pull that up. So basically, here you can see the outline of the house once it's fully built out. You can see the area south of the property and the existing deck that has been removed. You can see here this line here, which is existing bluff edge, and you can see this line here, which Pilar also pointed out, which is the bluff factor of safety zone. And basically, right now, the X's are the eucalyptus trees that will be removed. Some have already fallen, as I pointed out to you on Tuesday. And then the remaining existing vegetation right now, which is ice plants, will be removed in lieu of native planting, lemonberry, or equal. We have an existing area of turf that we want to enlarge slightly, but again, no irrigation will be required for that. There's an existing patio on the south side of the property going all the way across that we will maintain. And then on the north side of the property, the existing gravel driveway will remain as is. The existing hardscape along the east side of the property will remain as kind of a service access. We are going to be adding the western red bud cedar trees as shown on this drawing in lieu of the eucalyptus trees that have been removed. And then over here on the northwest corner of the property, these are existing trees, all that will remain. And then the additional western red bud cedar tree as well.
Okay, thank you. On the, on the east side of the property where you have just the native plants?
Yes.
Okay, what
That's
size,
just,
type?
yeah, the native plants, that was matched the other native plants over here on the south side of the property, lemonberry or equal.
Okay.
Lemonade berry.
Now, the only reason I'm bringing this up, and I'm not trying to create a lot of extra work for you, but we, in our conditions of approval, we refer to a landscape plan.
Sure.
So I would encourage my fellow commissioners to agree with me that this needs to be formalized into your plans. And I think you can do it. It's certainly acceptable, but I think you can, get it brought up to the quality of the rest of your plans by doing it in CAD or whatever.
Sure.
If that's not too much trouble for you.
No.
Yeah, because we do need a record of it. If you sold it and someone else bought it and they tore out the lemonade barrier or something, this is what was conditioned with the
Right.
project. So,
Understood.
so that's my only comment, question.
Yeah,
Thank
sorry,
you.
I drew this myself.
No, I understand that, and I appreciate your doing that, because it was Tuesday that
Right.
I sprung this on you, so.
No problem, yeah. I'm just, when I went to architecture school, computers weren't really a thing, so.
Okay.
But I'll get my drafts printed to draw that up.
Yeah, it's, and I think, yeah, and we have it in our conditions of approval on the first page, landscape plan compliance. So
Understood.
we don't really want to remove that from the documents. We want to
Yeah.
just make sure this is
I'll add
included.
this document in a more formalized manner.
That's great. Thank you so much.
Sure.
Okay, I believe I have Commissioner Barnwell, followed by Commissioner DeLucia.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I learned years ago that the erosion of the Isla Vista cliffs was not a result of the ocean. It was a result of the drainage of roof water being put over the edge. I asked this on the site, and I now look at this. You have rain barrels. If there's a heavy rain and those rain barrels fill, how do you get your water off-site and into the street?
That's a good question, and Public Works asked me the same question recently, because they only reviewed my plan just this week. And they suggested putting dissipators in. The rain barrels, just so you know, none of them are on the south side of the house. They're all on the east side and the west side and the north side. So nothing will be on that, none of the rain barrels will be on the south side of the house. So if the rain barrels, again, this is going over my head a little bit because I'm not a civil engineer. I'll consult with my civil engineer on this, and we'll get that into the drawing also. But I believe that the addition of a dissipator adjacent to the rain barrel will take care of the issue that you're speaking about.
Okay, well, as long as your pros say so, because
As long as
also, as long as your professionals say that, because it isn't just the water running over the cliff, it's the saturation of the soil on the cliff top also.
Understood.
So I just say that to you, observation, hope you can fix it. And then also, if you can save any of that lumber, I made that comment to you on the site if you find somebody. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
I believe, just to go back to that sec, I believe that the rain barrels are designed with a factor of safety in mind also, the size of them, to accommodate a large storm.
Well, there'll have to be some bohunking rain barrels to cover the kind of rain that we've had in the last, time. But thank you. I know you'll work on that. Thank you very
There's
much.
a lot of them, if you notice, yeah.
Okay, Commissioner DeLucia.
Yes, I agree with my fellow commissioner that there needs to be a formalized landscape plan or indicated on what you presented previously to the Single Family Review Board. But I do have a question. The landscape plan ultimately gets approved by the Single Family Review Board, correct?
That's correct.
Reviewed and approved. And I understand that they did allude that the board is in support of the removal and mitigation of trees. So I know you're removing 4 or 5 trees total, and you're going to replace those with like trees, and also, is there some native landscaping they also have to put in place besides native plants or anything?
Through the chair, Commissioner DeLucia, so the native landscaping, and this again will be formalized when it goes back to the Single Family Design Board for project design approval and final approval. But it's primarily along the bluff, right, where they're replacing the eucalyptus trees with new native vegetation. And then any new planting that's underneath, for example, the oak trees or towards the north of the property, that's going to be reviewed by them as well. It's ultimately up to their purview whether they think that that's appropriate to do native vegetation there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. That was my question.
Okay. Any others? Okay, so let's move on to the deliberation period. Anybody have any comments that aren't questions or would like to opine as to their thoughts on the project? We'll start off with Commissioner Wiscombe.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I support the project and can make the staff recommendations. I appreciate the scale of the project and also the fact that it's one story. I think the courtyard is really an attractive feature. I'm satisfied that I understand Commissioner Barnwell's question because we don't want water draining towards the bluff at all. And other projects that we've done that are more complicated than this, more building. It's been a challenge to get the water flowing uphill to the street from the project. So I'm sure that Public Works will have a good look at that and make sure that that's the factor, because they always require that. And other than the landscape plan, which I think needs to be formalized, and I probably would recommend to you to put, if you're putting lemonade berry on the slope, to have a note for how much on center they are, how far apart they are, and also maybe have a note about what native plants you're putting on the east side, because you don't want them to be too tall for your neighbors. I wouldn't think, I don't know, but that's not our decision, it's Single-Family Design Board. But I think the more detail you can give them, the better off, they'll feel about approving the landscape plan. And that's pretty much it. I think it's a lovely project. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Vice Chair Wardlow.
Thank you, Chair Balke. I just want to say I'm definitely supportive of the project. I can make the findings as outlined by staff. I really appreciate that you're building a project that is really aligned with the community, that this is not a huge, massive, new, overly exaggerated house on the bluffs. I think it's just appreciated that the scale and the bulk of this is much more moderate. We don't see very many of that coming to the commission anymore, right? Especially on the Mesa, a lot of things are getting severely built up. So I just wanted to say I'm very supportive of that. And obviously echo a lot of the comments by Commissioner Wiscombe. So thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comments by commissioners? Seeing none, I will open the floor for a motion. Who would like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion.
And I'll second your motion.
I'd like to move and support I can make the findings noted that the project is exempt from CEQA, and I can make the findings that the project is consistent with the policies of California Coastal Act as described in the staff report, and that the project is consistent with all applicable policies of the city's local coastal plan.
And I'll second that motion.
Okay, would you entertain Commissioner Wiscombe's comments regarding the landscape plan?
Yes, if that would be helpful to include it in the motion, then we would like to ensure that the updated landscape plan be a part of this moving forward.
And I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Can we have a roll call vote?
Thank you, Chair Balke. I'll take the roll call vote. Commissioner DeLuccio.
Yes.
Commissioner Lodge.
Yes.
Commissioner Barnwell.
Yes.
Commissioner Wiscombe.
Yes.
Commissioner Boss.
Yes.
Vice Chair Wardlow.
Yes.
And Chair Balke.
Yes.
Motion passes. Thank you.
Okay, and is this project subject to a 10-day appeal period?
It is,
Yes,
yes.
it is. Okay, so somebody out in the vapor might appeal it, but we don't see them. Okay. So thank you, Ms. Plummer, for your presentation, and we'll move on to the administrative agenda. Do I have a staff hearing officer liaison report?
I do not have a report. I have fallen behind in my attendance, but maybe Ms. Kokinda has something for us.
Chair Balke and Planning Commissioners, I haven't been the staff hearing officer since coming back from maternity leave. Dan Gullett has been the staff hearing officer, so I don't have any updates either.
Okay. Do we have any updates from other commissioners, their committee and liaison activities? We have Sheila. Did you hit your button, I believe?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I probably should have mentioned this when I was making the correction to the minutes. If I'd looked at my cell phone just before reporting on the project, the demolishing and rebuilding of a housing authority project on near Castillo and West Montecito Street, I would have seen that I had gotten an answer from Rob Fredericks about my concern about this being overparked. And the reason that they have many more parking spaces there, like almost 2 to 1, 2 for each unit, is that these are family units. And many of the householders are both employed, and they have children, and the children need taking to school and other activities and so on. So that is why they have so many more parking spaces than we usually see. You probably all know that at the City Council on November 19th, the appeals on 101, the hotel at 101 Garden, were denied on a 5-2 vote. At the Ordinance Committee meeting last Tuesday, they were considering the odds, and they voted to send it on to City Council, removing contemporary styles from the Upper State Street area and the area around Veracruz Park. And then a bit of history. I came through the Cabrillo Los Patos construction project last Friday. You may not know that this project was approved by a long ago planning commission on November 30th, 1924, on the basis of they had a design done by the, by the Olmsted brothers. And on November 30th, 1924, it was approved. And on the 30th of this year, it's been 100 years since this proposal was made, and construction began on it in February of this year and is anticipated to be completed in February of 2025.
Los Patos.
I'm sorry, I'm minus my hearing aids today.
No, we got it.
Okay, and if is nothing else from anybody else, I'd like to make a couple of personal comments. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Today is the last Planning Commission meeting I'll attend before my 4th term ends on December 31st. I've served the city for 36 years, 18 of those years as a planning commissioner. And I just want to thank the people of Santa Barbara and those I've worked with for the opportunity and the honor and privilege of serving this wonderful community for so long. So may you all continue to work to keep this a special place. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Barnwell, you were next on my screen. Yes, it is very hard.
I just wanted to make a comment that earlier this morning, there was a 4-hour meeting at the Community Rec Center downtown here with the Coastal Housing Authority having put together a very good presentation on housing issues, financing, and they had 2 representatives from Sacramento who explained some of the laws. They also passed out a piece of paper, an 8.5 by 11, with 20 of the housing-related law changes that are going to start on January 1st. So I'm going to make a copy of all those and give them to you guys so you can be aware of them. There are things that are as small as changes in the ADU law all the way up to builder's remedy, et cetera, et cetera. So I'll give that to you next meeting. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Wiscombe, followed by Commissioner DeLuccio.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to say that, and I've said this to Commissioner Lodge before the meeting started, but you're not off the hook. We wish you all the success in your surgery, and you're going to be back good as new. And we will see you in, hopefully, January, right back here. Mandatory, back here in January for a true ceremony for you. Okay? Do we have your word?
Unanimous consent on that.
You have my word.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
All right, Commissioner DeLuccio.
I knew this was coming, but I'm kind of sad that it's coming so soon. I thought you were going to be here a couple more meetings. I do want to thank you so much for the last couple of years, knowing you personally, as well as you've been a mentor to me. And early on, you've been so generous. And early on, you even gave up Historic Landmarks Commission so I could be the liaison. So that's just one example of thank you so much, but thank you for your friendship as well. So I'll close before I get more sad.
Well, I do have a comment. Sheila, thank you for your service, because, as long as I've been in Santa Barbara, you have been either on this dais as a commissioner or on the council. And you've been sort of the anchor of stability and common sense and leading. We've had all kinds of different political factions, we'll call it that, over those years, but you were always true to your beliefs and your view of the community. And I think we all are very much beneficiaries of that. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, Commissioner, Vice Chair Wardrobe.
I should have gone earlier, but I just want to say thank you so much, Sheila, for all that you've done for the city, because I love Santa Barbara so much, and a huge part of that is all of the policies and work that you did over many decades to make Santa Barbara what it is today. So I know that I speak for lots of people that appreciate everything you've done to make Santa Barbara so special and so beautiful. So thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, with that, I'm going to adjourn our meeting. It is now 1:45, and that concludes the December 5th meeting of the Planning Commission. And our next meeting is tentatively scheduled for next Thursday, December 12th, 2024. Thank you all for being here.